So at this point, you should have a game where the lion moves around the screen randomly every second. And what we'd like to have happen is when you tap the lion will speed up a little bit and move around a little bit more frequently than a second. And you tap it again and it moves a little bit more frequently than a second. So the way we're going to do that is by creating a variable which in GameSalad is called an attribute. Attributes can live at the game level, at the screen level, or at the individual actor level. So the speed is going to be tied to our game. So all the things in our game are going to be moving at the same speed. So later we're going to add tigers and bears, and when the tigers and the bears get added, they're also going to speed up whenever the lion speeds up. So let's make that happen. The way you do that is by adding an attribute. On the Attributes tab, click the plus sign, and it wants to know what kind of attribute you're going to add. Boolean is a true or false, a yes or no, like are you alive or are you dead? Text, of course, holds text like a player's name or a message. Integer is numbers without decimal places. They can be positive or negative. Real numbers are numbers with decimal places in them, like 3.14 for instance. Angles are numbers between 0 and 360. And then index is a special kind of number. We'll talk about that another day. We're going to use a real number so that it could be like we're going to wait 1 second or we're going to wait 0.895 seconds, for instance. So I'm going to pick a real number for our attribute type. And then we're going to name it delay. So to rename an attribute, you just double click here. I'm going to call it delay. And just like you want to choose good names for your actors, you also want to choose good names for your attributes. And while I'm at it, I'm going to set the initial value of the delay to 1. And so, whereas we have it sort of hard-coded now that the lion is going to move every 1 second, now we're going to change it so that the lion moves every delay seconds. So let's go back to the actors. Let's change the properties of the lion by double-clicking it. And we're going to say that instead of timer every 1 second, click that little E for expression and drop that down. We're going to say from the game, let's find the value, delay, and double click it. And the check mark makes it permanent. So now every some number of seconds, which is delay, it's going to move. We should hit play and it should move every 1 second just as before. If I use the back button and I change the attribute for the game, so I need to go back out here. We're looking at the games, attributes, the delay. If we make it a small number like 0.3, that should mean that we delay 1/3 of a second. So now it's going to be moving a little bit more than 3 times a second if we hit play. See? It's going much faster. And if we change that delay throughout the game, we can make it speed up. I'm going to go back, and I'm going to pull up the lion's behaviors one more time and discuss it before we move any further. So looking over the behaviors of the lion, we see, first of all, there's a rule which says when this actor is touched, then it's going to play the sound. This would be a perfect time to also add the part which makes the delay shorter. We could make the delay shorter by multiplying it by something like 0.95. So like if I was going to lower your grade by 5%, I would multiply it by 0.95. Similarly, if I'm going to shorten the delay by 5%, I'll multiply it by 0.95. So to do that, we're going to look in the list of behaviors over here and find one called change attribute. We're just going to drag it inside the rule, not below the rule, inside the rule, which runs whenever the lion is clicked. And this says change attribute. Well, which attribute do we want to change? We want to change the game's delay. Double click it. And we're going to use this expression builder, and we're going to set it equal to whatever the old one was, which is the game's delay, times, and in computer terms, we do a star, the shift 8 for times, and we're going to times it by 0.95 or 95%. So the new delay is going to be 95% of the old delay. So let's push that checkbox. We would expect now, when we run the game, every time, it's going too fast for me. I need to slow it down here. So let's go back over here, and at home, on the game screen for the game's attributes, let's put that delay back to 1 second. 1001, 1001, 1001, 1001. And if I were to click it, it's going to roar. And we would expect this line to be getting faster each time. I'm getting slower each time, but the line is getting no faster. So what's going on here, in fact, is that once a timer is set, although I'm using a variable here, it sets itself one time. So what I actually need to do is when I click on the lion, I need to start a whole new line, essentially delete this line and make a new one with a timer that is at a shorter delay. So I'm going to play the sound, I'm going to change the delay, and then what I'm going to do is actually called spawning. Spawn an actor of type lion, and I'm going to put it in a random position using the same random 30 to 550, random 30 to 290. So its position in this direction is going to be a random between 30 and 550, and a random between 30 and 290. Most important part that students are going to miss here is changing this relative not to the actor but relative to the scene. If I make these random numbers relative to the actor is actually going to wind up off the screen much of the time. But this is relative to the bottom left-hand corner of the whole scene, not to the bottom left-hand corner of the actor. So now, once I have this, let's just see if this spawn actor thing works. What we're going to expect to see now is every time I click on the lion, it's going to play sound, change the delay, make a new lion that's running a little bit faster than the old lion, but we haven't deleted the old lion yet. So I just want to see if this spawning thing actually works. So when I click it, I should have now two lions, and the lions are in random places, and the new lion's going a little faster than the old one. I'm going to do the same thing, click it, and now we have 3 lions. Oh, that's too much for me. Now let's figure out how not to have too many lions. So we can do that by telling an actor to destroy itself. And there's destroy. And so our set of instructions are now, when someone touches this lion, play the sound, pause, change the pause by 95% of what it used to be, so we're speeding up by delaying less. We are starting a new line in a random place, and we're deleting this line. Play it one more time, and it looks like every time I touch it, it moves to a random spot. But really, now every time I tap it, it's going to get a little faster. So that's certainly moving more than once a second, and I can't catch it. This would be much easier to play on an iPhone because you don't have to move the mouse cursor. It's kind of a challenge. Got it. So you won't have to see how bad of a game player I am, but you might get to see how good of a game player you are once you get this made. So now our lion goes faster. Our lion roars, but we don't have anything to keep score with. So in our next video, we're going to look at how to make this thing keep score.